Indie games have not only become more prevalent over the years, but also more popular. The former stems from the fact that game development tools like Unity and Unreal Engine are available to the public to make games with tons of support resources for both new and veteran game developers. And the latter stems from the fact indie games are, as the name implies, independent. Independent of greedy game publishers who prioritize how much money the game can make them first before thinking about how to make it fun. Indie devs also don't have to deal with publishing company mandates, like harsh deadlines, coding in a specific aspect of the game, locking content behind blatant paywalls. You get the idea. While game devs do want to put out their product in a timely fashion, and they do want to see a profit from all the money and effort they put into their game, it's entirely up to them how they go about doing all that. The people who know their game by heart are able to make the calls with these titles. As a result, indie games feel more authentic, more genuine. And because of the fact they're indie, it makes it all the more amazing when the game absolutely hits it out of the park farther than anyone could have anticipated. And in regards to the game that we'll be covering in today's video, that's exactly what happened. I'm finally getting around to this review. When did I last say that I would get to it? Well, a little indie game called Project Wingman was released not too long ago, and for an indie dev title, this game kicks some serious butt. Oh, I sure took my sweet time getting to this one, didn't I? Before the review of Project Wingman begins, I need to address some things real quick. Firstly, yes, this review is long overdue. The reason for that is because the PC that I owned back then and still do now is a college laptop, so a small portable PC. So it could just run Project Wingman on there when it came out on Steam. Trying to record gameplay at the same time would cause my laptop to explode with enough force to be one of the 7 nukes that Belka detonated during the Balkan War. Don't get me wrong, I still played the game a bunch when it first came out and was easily my favorite indie title of 2020 without question, but I just didn't want to upload gameplay that was as stuttery and laggy as my brain is during an exam. But all of that changed when Project Wingman was brought over to Xbox. Hell yeah! Needless to say, I got to work fast on grabbing the game, hooking up that capture device, and recording the hell out of it. So, naturally, that raises the question, how am I going to be conducting this review, as someone who has played both the PC and Xbox versions of this game now? This review is going to be covering the Xbox version of Project Wingman. The reason for that is because 1, it would feel weird talking about the PC version of this game while using Xbox gameplay, and 2, tons of reviews regarding the PC version are already out. Me doing a PC-specific review would be me arriving to the party late that's full of VIPs already. Given that the Xbox launch of the game is still relatively recent and fresh as of this video, I want to stick with this version. A number of people are going to be in a situation where it would be more optimal for them to play the game on their Xbox, and I want to put this video out to help people in making that decision. So, now that we got all that stuff out of the way, let's get into the review. Project Wingman, first and foremost, is a truly remarkable achievement given the circumstances. Granted, any indie game that's published, let alone one that reaches the level of acclaim like this game has, is remarkable. Indie game development, while more independent and free, carries with it a lot more risks than just being an employee at a well-known company. From competition, whether it be from those established companies or other indie devs, to figuring out how salaries are going to work, whether the game is even going to do well enough when it launches to break even on development costs, let alone make a profit, and tons more risks that I'm leaving out for the sake of brevity here. Therefore, it amazes me that this game has so much content when the number of people who worked on this game is so few. A fully playable campaign and conquest mode, VR for both of those modes for those of you on PC, complex AI pathing for both allies and enemies, a large selection of aircraft, fully fledged voice acting, a fully fledged story and original soundtrack for this game, all of that and more is impressive enough. But what makes the development of this game stand out to me is that Project Wingman was effectively made by just one person. You heard me right. While things like the game's soundtrack and voice acting for the different characters in the game were done by other people, as well as the producing/distribution of this game, everything else was done by one person, Abi Rahmani. I really hope I'm pronouncing that name right. I'm terribly sorry if I'm not. To quote him from the Project Wingman Kickstarter page, I'm basically the guy responsible for the game with things such as programming, game design, asset development, art, distribution, story, audio design, and whatever else is needed to make a video game except for the music. In short, I'm responsible for quite a lot of the game. To put it this way, without this guy, there would be no Project Wingman. Now, I don't mean to ignore the other people who worked on this game, from the various voice actors to Jose Pavli composing the absolutely amazing score for this game, which, fair warning, I am gonna have a fanboy moment when it comes to this game's soundtrack later in the video, just fair heads up there. To Matthew Fly Away Now, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of your last name, sir, I'm terribly sorry, being the producing manager for the game. And of course, we have to give praise to everyone who contributed to the Kickstarter so the funding for the game went smoothly, along with those who playtested the alpha builds of the game. TLDR, this game's development is astonishing and very inspiring for any aspiring game devs who want to give indie game development a shot. Project Wingman is an arcade flight action game that has the player flying around in the skies fighting against air, ground, and naval threats in a variety of locations. You're able to pick from a wide variety of aircraft and weapons depending on the kind of missions you embark on to fight your enemies. And you'll be needing those aircraft and weapons as those air, ground, and naval enemies are vast in number and type. The game has two main modes, Conquest and Campaign. The campaign takes place during a time when Yellowstone has done the big causing the tectonic plates around the Ring of Fire to become displaced, causing what humanity has now called the Calamity. Nowadays, the world is in the AC, or After Calamity era. Humanity was able to recover from this event thanks in part to a new resource that appeared as part of the Calamity, Cordium, which, fun fact, is a play on words of the real-world substance corium, widely regarded to be one of the most dangerous substances humanity can make. Cordium is effectively a one-size-fits-all energy source that enabled humanity to make the quick recovery that it did, and when weaponized, it can be very lethal, let's just say. You play as Hitman 1, the leader of the Hitman Squadron who are a part of the Sicario Mercenary Corps, a mercenary group specializing in aerial warfare along with some ground fighting capabilities as well. Sicario gets hired by the nation of Cascadia and their independence force, who are fighting the Federation being a collection of various countries that all fall under the same flag. In other words, they're Project Wingman's version of the United Nations. The nation of Cascadia used to be part of the Federation, but disagreements about how the Cordium would be handled, specifically Cascadia not getting enough of it with the Federation having total control and the final say, has caused the two to go to war with one another. It's your duty to fight against the Federation and lead Cascadia to victory. The other mode of Project Wingman is Conquest. Conquest is a territory acquisition mode where you hop into your jet, pick your territory to attack, and complete the objective to take the area over. It's designed to be played multiple times, as you'll only get so far with the early game planes. More capable planes later down the line will enable you to get farther and farther ahead, all the way until you're able to capture all of the final territories. You're also able to spend credits to bring allies into future missions so that it's not just you the enemies are facing, as the enemy count during the later stages of a Conquest game can be absolutely insane. Because of this being an indie game, there are no cutscenes or anything of the like here. It's just briefing screens and in-game combat that you'll be seeing. Thankfully though, both are really excellent to look at thanks to this game's presentation. Explosions are nice and detailed, seeing a giant airship fall out of the sky is super satisfying, the details for the jets are really good, things along those lines. That being said though, currently, as of this video, you for some reason cannot change the video settings. You can make adjustments in the menu, but those changes won't save, even if you hit the apply button before exiting. It resets to the game's default settings every time. This creates a situation where certain aspects of the game look great like the aircraft, but other aspects like the clouds can be a bit ugly looking. That, and the presentation of the game has run into a few hiccups during my time playing. In Sirens of Defeat, Monarch must have eaten some edibles before taking off or something because the sea is blood red, as is the radar, and the sun looks like this for whatever reason. In Kings, the screen is way too bright thanks to the constant laser fire mixed in with the lightning flashes and the sun, but these moments, while annoying when they happen, are the exception from what I've played. Most of the missions during the campaign and Conquest look the part well. If you really pay attention to the environments around you during the whole mission, then you may see more shortcomings than I did, especially with the video settings being unable to be changed as of right now, but you'll probably be too busy in the thrilling gameplay that Project Wingman provides to even be able to do that in the first place. Whether it be dogfighting with other pilots, attacking a massive aerial vessel, performing strafe runs on ground targets, frantically dodging missiles from the hundreds of enemies in Conquest mode like holy shit what the fuck is loads of fun. The core gameplay experience being so fun and fluid once you get the controls and the handling down is beautiful, and is what carries this game without question. Any of you who have played games like Ace Combat are going to feel right at home here, from how the aircraft actually fly, to being able to purchase the wide variety of aircraft through credit usage, things like that. Another addition that makes Project Wingman's gameplay so much fun is the fact that you're allowed to bring multiple special weapons. That's right, in this game you aren't just limited to one special weapon, you can have up to 3 of them in your plane depending on what aircraft you fly. Now you can bring the multi-lock-on air-to-air missiles, the multi-lock-on air-to-ground missiles, and the UGBs all at once. This allows you to fluently attack multiple targets of different kinds all at once, and managing what weapons to bring and how to use them are key to success here. So, the core gameplay of Project Wingman is fun and it's an absolute blast. Again, this is what without a doubt carries the game and makes it as fun as it is. Unfortunately though, given that this is the Xbox version, there is no VR support, but it's not really a necessary must-have when playing the game. But those that have played the VR mode on PC say that it is quite fun. But even if the core gameplay is a blast, right now there are some pretty apparent hiccups on the Xbox version that do need to be ironed out ASAP. Firstly, as of right now, you cannot change your controls. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if the throttle and brake and yaw controls weren't reversed here. Most people, myself included, have it so that it's set the other way around. Because of this, I spent around half of my time playing through the campaign getting used to the flip-flopped controls. And while it only caused me to die once in the campaign, there were a handful of other moments where I had to do multiple strafe runs on a target because I was yawing to the left or right instead of braking or accelerating. Thankfully, the other controls were mapped great and fit well with my Ace Combat arcade flight action mind, but this is one of the main fixes that Project Wingman should address in whatever first patch is coming up for this version of the game. For me, I was able to adapt to the new controls and still have a great time, but for people brand new to Project Wingman, these controls may have caused some frustration during their opening hours that seriously affected their enjoyment of the game, so this does need to be fixed ASAP. Secondly, sometimes the brightness is way too high. I noted this in the presentation section of the video, but having to squint during some fights, especially in Conquest mode, is unpleasant. Thirdly, occasionally the audio will bug out, most notably the track of the siren in this game freezing.
Federation Navy is out of action. Hitman, retask ASAP. Disregard, Hitman. Took you long enough. Roll into all friendly call signs.
I'm putting this in the gameplay section because it can be annoying to the point of distraction if you listen for it. But I did also run into a major hiccup in the form of Kings not playing during the final level? What the hell?
Do you know what you've taken from them? Their homes. And for what? To secede from the world? Or do you think you can fight this war again in 50 years' time? Do you really think history will set your way?
Kings not playing in the background during the final level is like removing Megalith Agnes DA playing in the background when you fight Megalith in Ace Combat 4. That's like removing the Unsung War when you're fighting the Solg in Ace Combat 5. That's like removing Zero when fighting Pixie in Ace Combat 0. Project Wingman, how dare you disrespect Jose Pavli first of all, but Kings of all tracks to omit in this build of the game? Whoo! In all seriousness though, the only reason why I'm upset about this as I am is because Kings is a kick-ass track and Jose Pavli's score for this game rocks. But just please note that I'm not actually that upset. It was just more of a shock than anything. But still, please add it into the next patch. Please, because Kings is an amazing track. Please. Lastly, you know those huge airships that you run across? Let's focus on this fella right here, the heavy cruiser. This fella's hitboxes, from what I've played, seem to be busted. As of right now, it's basically invulnerable to missile attacks, meaning that you're forced to close in and use your guns to eliminate the AA threats before moving in for the kill. In the campaign, due to how many allies are on screen helping you along with the heavy cruiser targeting said allies, the issue isn't as bad here. But in Conquest mode, it can be game-breaking. These things can spawn in as early as the first or second territories where you're just building up the credits necessary to purchase ally airships and wingmen of your own. These things can be equipped with railguns and all sorts of AA weaponry, and especially for players starting out in lower tier aircraft in this mode, evading all of that, particularly the railgun blasts, at point blank range is impossible. I would say to use hit and run tactics with missiles, but again, the airship is invulnerable because the missiles will seem to hit something before reaching those targets. The reason this has me as upset as it does here is because it absolutely kills any enjoyment that early Conquest games have. And I get how Conquest mode works, you're not designed to get far in the starting aircraft. But to die by such BS means when you're forced to challenge an airship that's invulnerable to missiles and has anti-air weapons that'll eliminate a good chunk of your health, or just eliminate you outright, is not how Conquest is supposed to be played. At least when you die by an armada of fighters pursuing after you, you have a chance to hit them and make some sort of last stand. The core gameplay of Conquest is fun, don't get me wrong. As someone who's played the PC version of this game and mode specifically, it's loads of fun. It also helps that I'm a total sucker for territory acquisition style kind of games. It just sucks that this one thing is crippling the mode right now. So then, what about the other aspects of the game? Moving back to the story for a bit, the story in my opinion is a good one. Again, given that this is an indie title, there are no flashy cutscenes or cinematics, so the story is told entirely through voiceovers and gameplay. And for what Project Wingman has, it works nicely. The story of your character, Monarch, rising from being seen as this low-life mercenary to the backbone of the Cascadian Independence Force. The story of the Federation growing more and more desperate as the war drags on in your favor, not theirs. The story is more laid back, aside from a few moments that'll have your jaw dropping to the floor, but it's still there and still a very enjoyable and fun tale to partake in. Monarch's Wizzo Prez is the one to speak what's on her mind.
Hey, Monarch, how about we watch this mission? I wouldn't mind staying a few more days out here.
I had you on record saying that, Prez.
Don't be a snitch again, Galaxy. Hitman 1, Monarch and Prez, ready to roll?
Kaiser being the proud glory hound leader of the mercenary group.
You know, I'm impressed with how many people stayed for this contract, boss. Especially since we're going up against the Federation. You should realize you're on the side with this galaxy. The band of foe will have a story here.
There he goes again.
I'm not in this for the money, remember? I'm here for history.
Well, the rest of us are here on binding contracts, so please, just don't get us killed, boss.
That's up to you.
Crimson One having his beliefs so deeply tied with the Federation that his rivalry with Monarch turns into an obsession, with the mercenary defying him and the others who fall under the flag so carelessly.
If I killed you at Yellowstone, this war wouldn't be over by now. It was a mistake. I can take the credit for that. They used to call me obsessed. Now, they call me their solution.
It's important to have likable and distinct characters in any game, but it's especially important for a game that relies on dialogue as one of its primary methods of conveying the greater plot here. Next, on to the soundtrack. And here is where I'm going to fanboy for a moment because Jose Pavli absolutely killed it with the music in this game. Every single track in this game fits, from the menus to the in-game combat. Crimson Squadron's first appearance has with it this intimidating tone that establishes them as a force to be reckoned with thanks to Peacekeeper 1. Clear Skies has this more laid-back tone that somehow still provides urgency and intensity with the mission given. Showdown fits perfectly with the massive furball that's going on. Side note, favorite mission in the whole campaign. Kings is the perfect final boss theme for a one-on-one dogfight. Landing provides this peaceful music that allows the player to reflect on their journey they just went through. Those tracks, along with the other tracks in this game, all fit with the scenarios amazingly. I did not expect Project Wingman's soundtrack to go as hard as it did, but the game is so much better for it. Jose Pavli, you should be proud of what you accomplished for this game. And thanks to this game, your future music will now be on my radar for years to come. Having played both the PC and now the Xbox version, I can say that Project Wingman is an amazing game. Yeah, the Xbox version definitely has some things that need fixing as of this video, but even then, the majority of the game is not only playable, but fun as hell. Just 3 people are listed as the development team, and even then, Abi Rahmani is the one who almost single-handedly made the game. As the credits rolled through at the end of my first playthrough, that's when it hit me. The reason I was and still am able to be more forgiving when it comes to the game's shortcomings is because of the conditions that the game was made in. And it's also the reason why I remained as calm as I did when talking about some of the negatives regarding the Xbox version specifically. Aside from my moment about Kings not being in the game, but you know. Project Wingman was made as a passion project by essentially just one person. This wasn't a game mandated by a publishing overlord who just wanted more money. This was made with genuine love and affection. And I'm confident that the issues in this version of the game will be ironed out in a timely manner. Along with the fact that the majority of the game is playable and, again, fun as hell, that's why I'm so forgiving when it comes to any mishaps with this game. And I will admit, another reason why I'm as much of a fan as I am with this game is because it inspired me. It has a special place in my heart. Seeing that this game was effectively made by just one person, with 2 others helping with the music and the business side of the game, that let me know that it doesn't matter how daunting a task may seem. If you're willing to put in the time and effort for something, you can absolutely do it. What am I getting at here? Well, part of me has been wanting to try my hand at game development for the past few years or so, but it was always so daunting to me. But when Project Wingman released on that 1st of December 2020, being a witness to such a project having been finally realized, finally got me to say, let's give this a shot. Now, I do have to admit, my journey hasn't really been perfect. I started in January of this year and kept going until March, but by March I had a big depression wave hit and I took a break from it. But recently, I've been dusting off the engine as I want to give it another go. Coincidentally, an arcade flight action game that feels similar to Ace Combat or this game is what I want my magnum opus project to be. My big, shining video game achievement once I have a good understanding of how game development works. But I know that day is far away from now. But that's probably how Abi saw it when first starting out his game, and look at where he is now. So, in other words, I owe Project Wingman my thanks. Thanks for showing me that when it comes to things like this, if you stick with it no matter how long it takes or how difficult it is, things like this can absolutely be done. In any case though, that'll do it for this video. What do you think of Project Wingman? Do you think the game is a remarkable achievement like I do? Are you going to be getting the Xbox version or sticking with the PC version? Or are you just going to get the PC version and not do the Xbox at all? Let's get a little discussion going on in the comments. I want to see what y'all think about Project Wingman. With that being said, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and leave a like. And if you like this video and like the sound of videos talking about all things video games, be sure to click that big red subscribe button with notifications turned on so that you can catch more videos like these from me in the future. Until next time, have a great rest of your day, stay safe, stay healthy, and peace out.